Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Have you ever been curious about what it's like to work in a Michelin-rated restaurant in Paris? Well, this is the show for you. We talk all about the different restaurants in Paris, what it's like to be a Michelin-rated chef, and much more on this exciting episode with Elena. So welcome to the show, Elena. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a while. I haven't talked to you on the podcast or off the podcast anywhere. So yeah, really excited. Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. You've been so busy since we last chatted. I'm looking at all these amazing places you've been working as a chef, a pastry consultant. We have a lot to catch up on, but I always like to start with where people are from and what brought them to Paris.
So I am Russian originally, and I have a New Zealand stepdad. So I'm a bit from everywhere, I guess. And being exposed to British and European cultures from early childhood has made me a kind of a citizen of the world, even though it's a bit cliche to say that. And I've been in Paris for 7 years by now, and I came here for pastry because pastry is my second nature, if not the first. And yeah, that's about it, I guess.
I love it. And how did you first get into cooking? Like, how long have you been cooking for?
Well, it's been about 10 years by now, I guess. I began with making cakes for friends, just like that in my own home kitchen, and it was going fine, but I was lacking theoretical knowledge. You know, I tried doing recipes, and sometimes they wouldn't work, and sometimes they would, and sometimes I had a bit of frustration because I didn't know all the nuances, and there was very few cooking schools back at the time in Russia, and I realized that I really wanted to learn from the best. And thanks to the support of my parents and my own determination, I got to one of the oldest pastry schools in France in 2017, and this is how I began my career here. And then it all began with internships, and then I did work contracts, and then COVID hit, and I had to go back to Moscow, but then came back to work again back here. So it was a thrill of a journey.
It's been a lot. It's been a roller coaster for sure. Exactly. And talk a little bit about the oldest cooking school in Paris and France. Talk about what it's like there. What's it called?
So the school is called Ferrandi, and it's fairly known because it has a international pastry program for foreigners. I mean, it's known among foreigners, but maybe less than Cordon Bleu, for example, because Cordon Bleu is one of the schools that has a lot of offices around the world, and thus it's more well known. And back at the time, Ferrandi, they only had one or maybe two campuses, and now they even have 5 or 6 all around France. So they've grown quite a bit since then. And yeah, it was very different to what I used to do before, because I used to study history before that, and obviously being in the kitchen and chopping things and doing pastry prep and baking croissants is not at all something that I was used to doing. at any of my educational programs that I'd taken before. So it was very practical. And even spending 5 or 6 hours in the kitchen was really tough at the time. And now looking back at it, I always laugh because now it seems like nothing at all, nothing special. Oh, 5 hours on your feet, nothing special. But back in the days, it was something huge, and I loved it. I think I was really I was really lucky to have found something that I love so much. It's been 7 years and I still love it as much, and this is why I'm still doing it. So yeah, the school was a great first step for me in my culinary process.
Definitely. It's such a great place to learn, and then being in France, it's so inspiring and all the good food around you all the
Yeah.
time. I mean, how can you not be passionate? And talk a little bit about like some of the hardest parts of learning to cook other than being on your feet all day as a chef. Like what was some of the more
Mm.
difficult parts?
I think one of the difficult, the less evident part to it is probably failing, and it's something that I wasn't exposed to before. And I guess in any learning process, when you fail, you either get discouraged and you don't really want to do anything about it. You may not want to pursue what you're doing, and it can sometimes, bring you down. And I had some of the techniques, I couldn't master from the first, from the beginning. And for example, puff pastry or, macarons, or there was some issues. And I think it was something that was a bit difficult. Also, I think, um, it's a good question. I don't think I've ever answered it before, so I don't have a reply like straight away. I love it. I think also integrating the work environment, which was part of the school curriculum when we did a stage, when we did an internship in one of the pastry shops. It's closed now, but back in the days, it was really a great team with three coffee shops with three pastry shops. Sorry, and it was a high end brand. But I think integrating a very different work environment to anything I've known before was definitely one of the things that was difficult, because it was people who didn't have a who didn't have a university education. They didn't have a degree. They weren't really interested in like books, or they had a very, very different background to them. So they were very different culturally. And I think being in this environment was tough at times, because you had to find a common language with very different people, not only culturally, but also um, like educational backgrounds. Even if I was French, I could, I would have probably the same difficulty working with them. So I think the work environment and the failing part in the beginning were somewhat tough. That was the one. Yeah.
Definitely. You're not used to any of that. And yeah, it's a lot to take in it all at once. And is it kind of like what we see in all these movies where the chef's back there yelling at everybody and it's all intense and you're exhausted? And is that kind of what it's like working in a kitchen, even in France?
But I think it really depends on the place, and it depends on the chef so many times. And I guess we may have a very stereotypical way of seeing how a kitchen works, and this is what we see in the films, like you say, exactly. And I believe that it really depends on the chef, and it depends on which kind of restaurant you're at and which kind of concept you're at. Because when you want to work in pastry, you can become a pastry chef in a boutique, so in a pastry shop, and you wouldn't have the pressure of the service whatsoever. You'd be doing mise en place, which is prep for the the van, to come and take your pastries away and distribute them among pastry shops, for example. And you wouldn't have the pressure of the service. You could be working at a Michelin star restaurant where you'd have a lot of pressure indeed. So something that we associate with the kitchen work, like you said, the chef's yelling or something else. You could have a very calm, tranquil environment with no star, or maybe even with a Michelin star, but without the pressure, without the rush of the service, which could also be the case, because it could be a very different type of restaurant with a different type of service, with a different type of fluidity. So, and you could work at a Palace, which is like a 5-star hotel, which I also did. And there, it really depends on what you do. You could be in a Michelin star, which belongs to the hotel, which is in the hotel, or you could be doing room service, and it could be more of a pastry shop kind of dynamic. So it really depends on where you go. And this is why being in pastry and being in the kitchen is so versatile, because you can pursue so many different career paths. And definitely there is a lot of stress, and there is a lot of people who choose to, put pressure on their team and to make them excel. This is the only way they see it. But I believe that having passed through Michelin stars and having done Michelin starred restaurants and having done, Palace, and having done a lot of exceptional places, I believe that you can run an exceptional place and you don't have to shout at your team, and you don't have to put a lot of stress on them, and they will perform and they will be out there. It's just a question of which kind of a leader you are, and how you find common language with your team. That's also kind of a thing to consider.
Definitely, because I think when you're so passionate, I mean, it's the same for me with photography. There's always a little bit of
Mm,
nervousness because you want to succeed, you want to provide the best service. So I don't need someone yelling at me. I'm already stressed out because I want to do a great job. So if you're
sure.
passionate and you want to do it, then you already have that little bit of stress in you.
Mm. Yeah, I think photography has a lot of parallel with gastronomy, because imagine the fashion week, or imagine some other event when you have to just go and give everything you've got. And yeah, it is stressful in its own, like you say. So I share your viewpoint on that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we're used to working with all different personalities and all different incomes.
Mm,
There's
mm,
a lot of
indeed.
maneuvering.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you worked at many prestigious places. Congratulations. Oh my goodness. I mean, all that you've done already in Paris. You worked at La Pavillon, the Trianon Palace in Versailles, Café Pouchkine. Did I say that right? I never knew how to say that. Pouchkine.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Pushkin. Yeah, well, they always put the stress on the last syllable, but doesn't it change much?
Which has
Yeah.
delicious food, by the way. I love their stuff. So, talk a little bit about some of the stories of working in these places. Is it really difficult to get in? Like, what is the process? What's it like to work at all these prestigious places?
I think that it really depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it, because even in being in a Michelin star, you can just get in, talk to the chef, and get in for maybe 1 or 2 weeks stage internship, which would allow you to simply grasp maybe a bit of what it is like to be working in a Michelin star, but not really um, get that much into it. I mean, get too deep in the process. So it really depends on what you want to do. But if you want to pursue pastry as a career, as I did, so you could get in for either a work contract or a or an internship. However, being I guess, since this podcast is in English, and if you're somebody who has some sort of visa, being in Paris, it really sometimes depends a lot on your visa type, and which kind of visa, which kind of work permit you have, and how you can navigate through that. Because um, sometimes the easiest way, for example, to get a work contract is to find a school through which you can get a stage, an internship, and then apply for a work contract. If we're thinking of legal terms and how to get in and stay. So I've commenced from the I've commenced from the end. So I'll get to the internship as well, and how you get the internship. But yeah, if you want to work at a Michelin style, if you want to work at a pastry shop, you really have to get into there, and so that the company, like in any field, I guess, they have to prove that they haven't found a French person apt for the role. So this could include you having a stage there, and then them saying, "Oh, really, we really liked how she works. We want to keep her for longer." So this is what happened. This is what was supposed to happen at Trianon Palace, but I couldn't renew my visa because of the COVID, so it didn't work out as I wanted it to. And the other solution could be an internship also, which could be finding a school, a pastry school, for example, or mm, maybe a language school. But language schools tend to give less and less internships that are not related to language learning. So this is something that I did, but I'm not quite sure whether this still works or no. always you can marry a French citizen. This is also a solution. Um, and visa-wise, I mean. But in terms of the process, I think that now the reality after COVID is that a lot of people left the restaurant industry, and they've left, for good, for other spheres. They've started doing marketing, or they've started doing logistics around food maybe, but without actually working and standing in the kitchen. So there's a huge issue all around the world. My parents being in New Zealand, they've also experienced this when they had restaurants for some short period of time. In Russia, everywhere people have some shortage of staff, a huge shortage of staff, or minor shortage of staff. But there's this issue of people not wanting to do the hours anymore for the pay that the restaurateurs propose. And it's a huge issue because, the food industry has to adapt to the way people see the work conditions. The people who want to work, they want the work to have more advantages for them than it used to have. So there's this issue right now, and getting in is not that difficult when you have the right visa and when you have the motivation to work there. To be honest, so and I think that every type of place that we just mentioned, a pastry shop or a Michelin star or a palace, they could be all, and they are all very different in terms of how they are organized, how the workflow is organized, how what hours you do, which tasks you perform, how big the team is, so there's a lot of there's a lot of things to consider, and I think it's just the question of finding what you like most, and what you're looking for, and what could be most beneficial for you and for your growth and for your perspective. So yeah, I hope that
Yeah.
sort of answers the question.
Oh, definitely. It's interesting what you said about people demanding, better work situations, even in the kitchen. I
Yeah,
mean, walk us through an average day in a Michelin rated restaurant in Paris. Like, what does that day look like for you?
it depends, but sometimes there's restaurants which work at what I'm doing right now, which is called la coupure. So when they have a break in between two services, so you'd come at 8:30 or 9ish in the morning. Then you'd work till 3:30, and then you'd break. You'd have a break for 2 hours, about 2 hours, till 5:30 ish, and then you'd work till the restaurant closes. So that would be till the service is there. So that would be 10, 11 p.m. So that's a very long day, cut in two. There's also systems of teams. When there's a morning team, there's a team that comes in the morning, there's a team that comes in the night, in the afternoon shift. This is also applicable. So the Michelin that I did was like that. So sometimes you'd be on the morning team and sometimes you'd be on the evening team. Depends on the need and the availabilities and what the team, what's happening. If there's a lot of workload or where you're needed most. And it really depends. I guess there's obviously a lot of cleaning, which is something that something to consider and something very important to remember, that if you don't like cleaning, you may not like it being in a professional kitchen, because in a professional kitchen, the more stars you have, the more the classier the restaurant, the more you'll be cleaning there, because it really has to be impeccable to serve the clients right, to make sure that there's no, everything is very, very, very clean to be serving the customers. And I completely share that viewpoints, and I think it's crucial that this stays. This is the pillar, the pillar. The cleanliness of your kitchen is the pillar to consider when you go to a place, when you see how people work, and this is something that tells a lot about the place. So you clean a lot. You obviously there's ingredients that arrive, so you store things, you put away things, you weigh stuff as well. It depends on how experienced you are. The less experienced you are, the more you'll be cleaning and weighing and maybe doing some very basic prep. And then the more experience you have, you'll be doing more complex stuff like chocolate decorations, or maybe even research and development, creating new desserts if you're a sous chef or a chef. In my case scenario, it was sort of something in between. I'd be doing pastry prep. Sometimes I would do service as well. So service is something where the prep that you've made in the morning is assembled and being done into plated desserts. So this is more of a restaurant story. In a pastry shop, it could be just assembling also the elements that you've made into tarts, into eclairs, into other pastry pieces. So it really depends. But yes, a lot of cleaning, definitely a lot of cleaning, more than you can imagine.
Yeah, I don't think that's what we imagine when we think of like the pastry chef in the Michelin restaurant. It's like, oh, you're just scrubbing things all the time. You're just cleaning.
Exactly.
And other than that, the cleaning, like, is there any major differences between working in a Michelin restaurant versus a normal restaurant in Paris?
Well, I think it's definitely the level of the more stars, the more attention we pay to the product and to the quality of the product that we use, because it really makes the whole difference when you order exceptional quality products and you do something exceptional with them. And this is a 3-star level, for example. If you want to go for a 1-star, your products will be the ingredients that you use for your dishes, the ingredients that you use for your desserts will also be really great, but they may not be as exceptional as in the 3-star. So, and I think it's also the question of how thorough the thought process behind the dessert is. So when you have a 1-star, you really have to think of how well it marries with the whole other tasting menu dishes. So you may have a 6 or 9 services menu where you'll have the main part, for example, finishing on duck, for example, and after the duck, you have to have something that's coherent, that won't be too much standing out. So it could be something along the line. If the fig is in season, maybe something with figs, or maybe something with red berries, maybe something more comforting with caramel notes. So we don't have a huge striking difference between the last course of the main part of the savory part and the sweet part. Or you could include also a pre-dessert, which could be something that freshens the palate, something that refreshes the palate and helps you cleanse the palate before the dessert. So this could be a contrast to the duck. So thus maybe something citrusy, something that's in season. So obviously, I think something that's really the Michelin thing is, I would say, seasonality is something that people are considering almost 100% of times. Even though, yes, indeed, sometimes even now I see Palace, which is like 5-star hotels serving, red berries in the winter, which is something that's, already a bit really out of fashion, but still people do it because this is what clients are still demanding. Even in the winter, they do want their red berries, for example. And, but yeah, I'd say the work on the product is much more different. The cleanliness is much more different. The size of the team also, there could be up to maybe 5 or even 10 people in pastry, because there'll be a lot of different pastry prep to make one dessert. So imagine taking an apple, and for an apple dessert, you could have apples being not only peeled and cooked, for example, in a caramel, but you could have a apple cider being made by the sommelier in-house, or there could be an apple kombucha to serve to get done with the dessert, or there could be a apple extraction, or there could be more work behind one ingredient, and this is why there's more people needed. So this, I think, quality of ingredients, cleanliness, size of the team, the amount of time spent behind the product, and like the thought process behind the product, and all these things. Yeah, I think these are definitely the differences, the huge difference. Between the two, between
Sounds
the
like,
Michelin
yeah,
and the
there's
usual one, the usual
a
restaurant.
lot more to think about. And it was interesting what you said about, it's what the clients want, even if it's not red berry season. People want this, we're going to make it happen. Obviously, the
Yeah.
clients are not one. Have you ever had any like outrageous demands or any funny stories of things that people wanted?
Yeah, quite a few, and it happens on a regular basis. I think that there's always clients who have a vision, and sometimes it's not coherent with yours. For example, I really wanted to do an alcohol-free baba. A baba is a Polish. Well, it got to France from Poland back in 17th century, and it was a recipe of a brioche kind of dough, which was soaked in an alcohol, alcohol kind of syrup. And this brioche still stays it still stays as a huge part of the French classical tradition, and it's usually served with rum. So baba au rhum is a dessert that every French person knows, and most people like it. And I really wanted to do a baba without alcohol. I've stopped drinking 4 years ago, and it's been a interesting experience, especially being in the country which is all about wine and cheese and bread, and wine coming first in so many cases. And I really wanted to do a baba, summery version, maybe just with a kombucha or with some, I think it was rhubarb with some strawberries, so something very light, and maybe some green tea or maybe white tea, something very, very light and very fruity, just to not have this, the baba, the usual baba that we usually have, the very alcoholized, one, very kind of a heavy one. And not only the team, the team looked at me like that and said, "Oh, no way you're gonna do that. No, baba without baba with zero alcohol, baba. No, that won't work." And then even when I put some champagne on it, and I had some clients asking me, "Oh, can you just add some rum on that, please?" Yeah, just a good dose, That was fun, because I wasn't really expecting to have old rum being poured on my rhubarb and strawberries just to kill the fruitiness of it. But I did, we did that. And it was some other cases when the clients, sometimes they return desserts because they didn't read on the menu that it was something that they didn't like. And this was more like just funny situations on the go like this, but never really had I haven't had outrageous stuff, or a lot of too much drama, either because I wasn't really close to the client at the time. We may have had drama in the 3-star, but since in the 3-star, you'll have the servers, and then you'll have the sommelier, and then there'll be a whole team, taking care of you in the client area, so that anything that comes out of hand over there, to pastry, it will come, in a very changed shape and form. You won't be the one hearing the client screaming about, "Oh, there's not much rum in my baba." No, it will be the sommelier who'll tell the server, and then so there'll be a whole chain of people to tell you about, "Oh, yeah, there was one client who didn't like the baba." There will be something like that kind of feedback. But I really enjoyed. I remember a very funny moment when France won the World Football Cup, and we were, since the Pavillon Ledoyen is on the Champs-Élysées, so the bus with the footballers was about to come anytime. And when the guys were finishing their shift, and everybody was like, "Oh, we got to finish fast. We got to see the team." And we went out to the Champs, and we could not pass. Everybody was standing, and there was no place to move. There was no place to. You couldn't even join the crowd, because the crowd was so packed that we couldn't even, you couldn't even go through, join the crowd, whatever. It was hectic. But the guys were really excited to see the team, and very eager to finish off the service. And, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll see the team coming. We'll cheer at the footballers." That was really fun. Being in the middle of it was really, really cool. 2018 was that. Yeah,
that was such a great year. I remember. I mean, I don't even care about sports, but everyone watched that game because France.
Yeah,
and so fun to see everyone dancing in the streets, and even the trash driving by the bar, and they're all dancing, and people on top of cars, and it was just fun. It was just like good energy to be. When they won the World Cup, that was amazing. And you specialize in plant-based products, plant-based pastries. Talk a little bit more about your passion about plant-based cooking and why that came along.
Well, I wouldn't really describe it as plant-based, because I do include sometimes animal ingredients and of animal origin into my pastries. And I'd say what I really love about desserts, I call them the desserts of the future, or tomorrow's desserts, because I feel that today there's a lot of people paying more and more attention to how they feel and how food makes them feel as well. And it's true that when we sometimes when we eat conventional desserts, when I say conventional, i.e., having a lot of sugar or white flour, we sometimes may feel that it really gives us energy, but for a very short period of time. And my idea would be to develop and to work more on desserts, which I'm already doing at the restaurant, and what I talk about on my networks and everywhere I publish or where I talk, and would be to develop more desserts which have more variety in them, i.e., there's vegetables in them, there's fruits in them, there's different types of flours, different types of sugars, different types of fibers. So the variety that makes the dessert wholesome, but without making it, sad and gloomy and no texture and what have you, because it's really sad, but many times and very often we associate healthier desserts, which I call what I do, and I really sometimes I don't like that word because it reverts to having a zucchini brownie or something like zucchini brownie could be great. Something really flat and no salt, no taste, no jazz kind of to it. And I feel that healthier pastry could definitely be much better than that. It is, and it can be, and it is funky. It's colorful. It's playful. It has a lot of texture. It has a lot of taste. It has a lot of, it has something surprising to it. And it's something that it's my passion that I love sharing with the world. I've done a few courses, including a course from the world pastry champion, who is one of the pioneers in healthier. He calls it, healthier, lighter, and tastier pastry because he eliminates animal origin ingredients, and he works like I do, kind of. I got a lot inspired from him. He works with a lot of flours, with a lot of sugars, and his pastries are, they're really fun. They're really fun, and it's something that I really want to promote because obviously, eating well and eating as a pleasure is really, really, really important. You don't want to eat a healthy dessert and not have pleasure from it, because the essence of a dessert is pleasure. You get a dessert because you really want to have that little moment at the end of your day, at the end of your meal, to highlight maybe the meal or highlight the day or comfort you, to bring you some positive emotions. And when you force yourself to eat something healthy, well, it doesn't really make much sense because you're not really helping yourself emotionally. So the most important thing is so that it's healthy, but it's also great texture-wise and flavor-wise. So it gives you that, oh God, I ate this. Oh, it was so good. This dessert was like so good. So marrying this, putting these two together is like my ultimate goal that I'm working on and I'm trying to promote and trying to work on for clients to develop that globally as a consultant and, publish things about it, talk about the ingredients of the future and how you can work on such desserts. So yeah, plant-based is a part of that. But most importantly is the health part and the variety part, that our body loves eating various stuff. So yeah, yay for the difference, yay for the variety, and for the multitude of things that you can use to make a dessert really cool. Yeah.
I love that you talk about the ingredients of the future and, making things still tasty and, indulgent, but better for us. Like, we need people like you. All the restaurants need to hire you. Hire her. I feel like we've been stuck in our old ways for so long that people aren't even thinking about things like this. I mean, some people are obviously, but I mean, especially France, which is so rooted in, their culture, and they're doing the same things over and over again, which is why we love them as well. But we need people who are going to bring these new ideas to cooking, especially.
Yeah, I think it's changing step by step and really depends on the country. Indeed, France is more rooted, like you say, in the classical traditions. And it's really okay. I think that everybody finds what they need on the pastry market and wherever else, because so many people just tend to stick to what they've known and from their childhood, the classics, millefeuille, or like the same baba or something else. And it's completely okay. And I think that as long as we keep on moving, and maybe we don't want to try to persuade everybody that, oh, this is the best, or try to like show them how it is to do it the right way, but My idea is to is not to preach, is to more it's mostly to say like, oh hey, I found this. Do you want to go and play with me? Let's play and let's try to build something together. Do you want to build a castle of sand from coconut sugar with me? Oh yeah, let's go and try to do it. It's going to be fun. So it's the best way to incite and to inspire people to follow you, is just to say, oh shit, look at this. I found something cool right here. Let's go and play. So this is my vision of things. So let's go and play pastry.
It's all about play, guys. I love that.
Exactly.
And how would you define creativity in your own words? Coming back to play, like what does creativity mean to you?
Creativity is the inner child. Creativity is the inner child that we sometimes forget because we live in the world of a lot of with some pretension, or with some with forgetting our true nature. And I think the true nature is simply about enjoying the moment and enjoying without the cliche of it, because there's so many coaches and there's so many people, motivational speakers, who are talking about being in the present and what have you. But seriously, come to think of it, when you eliminate all everything that's the world has told you to be, for example, having a Chanel bag, or having a house, or having something else that's material, you descend to the simplest of things, and the simplest of things is just being in the moment. And I guess the creativity in what you do, it could be architecture, it could be food, it could be photography, it could be something else. It really comes from this feeling of simplicity of things, and being in this child state of play and child state of curiosity, when anything can bring you joy, and anything can bring you to find an interesting, a flavor combination, or a visual for a dessert, or something else. And it really, sometimes it's difficult to get to it, because we're brought down by, we don't sleep much, or we don't eat as well as we could. And from that state of mind, it's difficult to find the inner child, because for that you have to have a lot of energy. But once you get there, once you feel it, if you feel it once, I don't think you can ever get mistaken again, because it's a very it's a very gratifying feeling, I think, to see the simplicity and the beauty of the simplicity of things around you. And this is where the creativity comes from. It was a very long reply, but I think I sort of I got there. I don't know if you feel this way. I really want to, even though this podcast is about me, how do you see creativity yourself?
Oh, I mean, this is a question I ask all of my guests, and it's a bit different answer from everybody. And I love it. I mean, I think it's fascinating because it's a topic that I'm curious about. But for me, I'm just doing this podcast for like 5 years now and listening to all the answers. For me, it's like the soul at play. It's like the fastest way to connect with the soul, to connect with the world, is creativity, because nothing puts us in the moment more than when we are creating, and that puts us right in the moment. Like you talked about how important it is, and play and connecting to our inner child, all these really important things that are healing and good for the world. That's what creativity is to me.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
well, I think that is a beautiful note to end on. I loved your definition. And where can people connect with you and follow you and learn more about your work?
I think I'm going to leave my Instagram handle, because this is where I post quite a bit. And that's probably the best way to see a bit of what I do. Sometimes share on the stories what I discover. I'm really blessed to have, some talented chefs and talented producers around me whose products I test, and I share some ideas. So yeah, definitely the Instagram would be the best way to see a bit what I do. I think that.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll share that in the show notes, and then you guys should definitely follow along. She is the future of cooking. Thank you so much, Elena. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.